Hey guys, it's Erin. Welcome to Love and Veggies with Erin. Coming at you from my home in Tennessee, and I'm gonna prepare for you guys a really quick and easy and inexpensive meal that my husband and I love. It's sweet and sour veggies, and we're gonna put it over jasmine rice, and it comes together very quickly. It's a lot of chopping, but you can buy canned vegetables or frozen vegetables, and it comes together even quicker. And then the sauce is just basically done in a blender or Vitamix or whatever you have, and you pour it on top, warm it up, throw it on some rice, and voila, you're done. So stick around and I'll show you how I make it. All right, bye. Okay, so this is the part where we cut up a fresh pineapple, and we're gonna prepare it in a couple of ways. You can also use canned pineapple if you have it. I just prefer to do fresh. So this is how I cut up a fresh pineapple. The top part we're gonna toss away, and then we're just gonna cut the very end off so we have all the flesh exposed. And then we're gonna cut this end off. So that all the flesh is exposed as well. I'm just gonna throw those out. Now, to make it easier, I cut the whole pineapple right in half and just work on one piece at a time. So put the fattest part of the pineapple down, and we're just gonna cut the ends off. Now, my husband makes fun of me because I don't like to waste anything. So these are all the little seed pods in here. And I cut it very close so that those seed pods are actually exposed. But I'll show you in a second what we're gonna do so that you're using every bit of pineapple that you possibly can, especially when you're using the fresh. All right, so we're just cutting all the outside parts off. And we'll put those to the side because they're gonna go in the garbage. Now, you can see the core is on the inside right here. And we're actually going to use this part. So we're gonna cut this right out. We're gonna cut right around the outside. So you have 4 pieces, 4 big chunks of pineapple. This is the core. I'm just gonna chop it up, and we're gonna throw this in our blender cup because this is gonna be part of the juice. So nothing goes to waste. Now, what else doesn't go to waste is the outside bits here. This part that you really wouldn't eat, we throw in the juice bucket. So all the parts that you wouldn't want to eat kind of raw, those all go in the juice bucket. Then we're just going to cube up the rest of this into bite-sized pieces that kind of match the rest of what we cut up that are going in to the sweet and sour. Okay, so that was one piece. Again, we're going to cut off the pieces that you wouldn't really want to eat raw. And all that is going to go into the juice bucket because that's going to make up our pineapple juice and our sauce. And then we're just going to cut this up into small bits. Relatively uniform in size, doesn't have to be perfect. And we're going to set these aside. All right, I'm going to finish up the rest of this pineapple. Now you know how to do it, and I'll be right back at you. See you in a bit. Okay, so this recipe typically calls for about a 1/4 cup of orange juice. You don't necessarily have to use canned orange juice or in a jar or anything. There's no specifics to this. Use what you have. In my case, I have all of these oranges. These are the cuties that are kind of like looking sad and they're on the way out. And because they're looking sad, nobody wants to grab them out of the fruit bowl to eat them. So I'm going to peel them, and I'm just going to throw them in a blender cup, and we're just going to blend them until they're orange juice consistency. No need to juice them. No need to strain it. Just peel them, throw them in, grind them up. If it's a little bit more than a quarter cup, that's okay, because it's sweetness and it's moisture. It'll just add to your recipe. If you don't quite have enough quarter of a cup, you know, you can substitute with a little bit of water, or we're also going to have a whole bunch of pineapple that we're going to grind up too. So I'm just going to take a minute and I'm going to peel up these oranges, and we're going to throw it in, blend it up, and we'll add the juice right to the blender. All right. Okay, so this dish all in itself is mostly just chopping. That's the most of what is going on here. But you don't have to use fresh, like I said. You can use frozen, and there will be a lot less chopping to do. So I've already gone ahead and I chopped up most of the veg, and I'll just kind of show you what we're gonna do. So I have some zucchini that I chopped up. You can use fresh. These were a couple of little fresh ones that I just chopped up, and we're gonna try to keep everything in a little bit uniform shape rather, so that size rather, so that it's just easier and nicer to eat. And I think it tastes better when they're not big and all in different sizes. So we're just gonna put a little bit of this zucchini in, or all the zucchini in. It's about 2 small zucchinis. You can use frozen too. I bought them in little bags from Walmart that are zucchini and yellow squash together. Just throw them in. I think the bag there is maybe 12 ounce to 16 ounce bag. You can use that too. Or out of the garden, I don't know, maybe 2 cups worth. This is actually a half of a yellow bell pepper, half of an orange bell pepper, and half of a green bell pepper. I also have roughly 1 whole chopped red bell pepper, but you don't have to use all. You can use some, you can use none, whatever you like. This recipe is very forgiving. I happen to have these. You can use frozen, you know, whatever, you do you. So the bell peppers actually bring more sweetness to this recipe. So I definitely suggest going heavier on the orange, yellow, and red than the green. The green is more for like a chili type meal. So anyhow, we're just gonna throw them in. Now, carrots. Again, you can use frozen, you can use canned. If you're using canned, I would throw them in very last, because you don't want them to turn to complete mush as they're cooking along with any fresh or frozen vegetables. So eyeball it. I think my recipe calls for maybe 2 to 3 carrots. You can just scrub them down. You don't have to peel them. There's lots of nutrition just below the surface of the skins. So no need to peel, just chop them up, and maybe, you know, 2 cups worth, throw them in. Mushrooms, same thing. My husband always teases me because I don't wash the mushrooms, but, you know, wipe them down, wash the mushrooms, you do you. Chop them up. They don't have to be the same size and all that stuff, the same shape, as long as they're somewhere similar. You can buy these frozen also. They don't have to be fresh. Throw them in. Now, we're gonna chop up, you can use any kind of onion you want. I'm actually not gonna use the whole onion because I wanna save some only for myself for salad later this evening. So you can use a yellow onion, you can use a white onion, you can use a Vidalia onion, doesn't matter. You don't have to water saute these first before you add it to your pot. If I were home in New York, I would save the scraps in a second bowl, because those are what I use to make my veggie broth. But because I'm here in Tennessee, I have no intentions on dragging my vegetable scraps back to New York with me. So we're just gonna chop this up. And you can chop these up as big or small as you like them. So They're roughly about the same size as the other vegetables. If you want it more oniony and you have a monstrous fresh onion, by all means, go ahead and throw it in. I'm just going to use what I have. So it's about 3/4 of a red onion, give or take. The recipe also calls for, I think, 4 cloves of garlic. You do you. If you want to add more garlic, you can. If you want to do less garlic, you can. Also, if you don't want to cut up the garlic, you can also throw this garlic whole right into your sauce. I have done both. I haven't found much difference in the taste. And we're just basically gonna mince it. What I've also done is that one doesn't have a shell on it. What I've also done is use that minced garlic out of a jar. Again, it comes to whatever gets you to cook, whatever gets you to do the recipes that's most convenient, that's most cost effective, that's what you do. And again, we don't have to saute the onions and garlic first like a lot of recipes require you to do. I just throw them right in. Now, we are also going to sneak in some frozen okra. I know a lot of you are not fans of okra, but when it's frozen and when it's mixed in with something else, it's really good. You get a lot of nutrition from it, and you won't be able to pick out the vegetable that you don't necessarily like. Now, I'm not steaming these ahead of time. They're all gonna cook in with the rest of the fresh vegetables. These, if there's some big hunkers, I would maybe do a once over, check them out. Anything that's small like this, I would just toss in. So I'm going to just cut through these super quick. Anything that's really big and make it kind of bite size. If you have fresh cauliflower and you want to use fresh, do that. You can also use rice cauliflower. There's no rules. You'll still get all the nutrition and it'll be great. So I think people get hung up on recipes that they have to be exact. I gotta be honest, in my experience in my kitchen, I very rarely measure stuff. So when people ask me for recipes or how much to use, I kind of eyeball it. You ever see that meme and it says we measure garlic with our heart? Well, that's pretty much what I do. So if a recipe that I'm reading calls for 2 cloves of garlic, I will probably use 4, if not more. So anyhow, here's the cauliflower, and basically that's it. So they're all roughly the same size, and we're just gonna throw it in. So again, the most of the time that you're gonna spend on this recipe is just chopping up veg. Here's the pineapple that we already cut up, and they're all in little bits. Use canned, use frozen, use whatever you got. Throw it in. All right, the rest of the pineapple we put in containers. We're gonna blend this up and make it into juice. These are the oranges. We're gonna blend these up, make it into juice, and then we're gonna do the sauce. The only thing left for my recipe here, aside from the sauce, is we're gonna throw in some chickpeas. You can use edamame, you can use black beans, you can use kidney beans, you can use small white beans, you can use whatever you want. If you're using dried beans out of the pantry, pre-cook them ahead of time. You can also freeze them ahead of time. Otherwise, you just want to use cooked. So drain these, rinse these, then add them to the pot, and I'll be back at you in 1 minute with our sauce. All right, now my trusty helper is gonna show you how easy it is to make rice in the Instant Pot. And this is our jasmine rice. Go ahead. So we're gonna do 4 cups of rice because we use quite a bit of rice around here. Every once in a while, if I haven't done batch cooking and my husband is hungry, he knows that he can cook this super fast all by himself. And I encourage you, if you're a lady and you're a wife, teach your husband and your kids to do the same. This Instant Pot has been so useful to us. And the nice thing about it is if you're batch cooking and you're freezing things like curry or sweet and sour, and maybe you don't have a little bit of rice left over, it's so quick to throw the rice together, so he can do it himself. So we're doing equal parts. So we did 4 cups rice, and we're doing 4 cups of water. And you'll see here, this is what's going to be the sweet and sour. This is the veggies that are cooking down. And we'll let them cook, and then we'll add some sauce. Give her a little stir. No need to rinse. I've done it both ways, and I truly see no difference in rinsing or non-rinsing. So this is one of our newer Instant Pots. This is one of the no steam ones. So it does have a bunch of settings on the front that we are not necessarily used to because of our old one. But luckily, it has a good old rice button. 12 minutes and your rice is done. Okay, so the recipe calls for 1/4 cup orange juice, which normally, if I don't have fresh oranges, I'll buy one of those little jars that like the kids have for their snack bags and whatnot of orange juice, and I usually just keep that in the pantry. But because we took an 11-hour road trip, I bought a bunch of these little oranges, the cuties or whatever, or you can have just regular size oranges. If you have any random oranges hanging around, peel them and throw them in the blender and just blend them up. Don't juice them, just totally blend them, because then you get all the fiber and everything. So we needed 1/4 cup. This is giving me about 1 3/4 cups, which is perfect because we're gonna have it really liquidy, but then we're gonna add Arrowroot to this, and what it does is it acts as a thickening agent, very similar to cornstarch or to flour, but Arrowroot is much better for you, and it's much more friendly if you're in the weight loss zone of your life. So I pretty much always use Arrowroot, and it's a staple in my pantry, and if you're plant-based, I suggest you grab a bag of this too. Okay, so since we're home away from home, I don't have my huge Vitamix or my bigger NutriBullet, which has the bigger container. So we're doing this in 2 separate parts. What this is here is the oranges that I've already peeled and blended, in addition to the pieces of the pineapple, the core of the pineapple, and the bits of the pineapple that nobody wants to eat. We threw that in here too and blended it together. So what I'm gonna do is, because we need to add the rest of the sauce ingredients to this container. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pour out a little bit into this bowl. It's all gonna get mixed together anyways. But what it does is it just frees up some space, because we're gonna be adding apple cider vinegar, we're gonna be adding ketchup, we're gonna be adding arrowroot. And what I wanna do is just make sure there's enough room. Then I'll pour it into this bowl and stir it all together and throw it in the pot. Okay. So thanks to the magic of technology, we've already blended our oranges and we've blended our pineapple. So here's half of the orange and pineapple, and now we're gonna put the rest of our sauce together. Now, while I'm doing my sauce, typically when I'm at my home in New York, before I start the whole sauce bit, I get everything in my pot going, and the vegetables are already starting to cook. They really don't take very long because we want the vegetables to be a little bit al dente. So those are gonna cook for a little bit while we're putting the sauce together. I bring my binder with me pretty much when we travel because this is all of my recipes. So I will show you exactly what my recipe has on it, the food stains on it and all. So, and we'll show a little trick too. All right, so we have the oranges, orange juice, and the pineapple in here already. To that, we're going to add a half a cup ketchup. Now, there's two ways of doing this recipe, depending on your ingredients. I like to buy Primal Kitchen organic unsweetened ketchup. You always want to do the unsweetened ketchup because we don't want any processed sugar in our ketchup. We don't want the high fructose corn syrup. We don't want any of the junk. And Primal Kitchen has been the best ketchup that I could find around. You can buy these online at Primal Kitchen. Actually, they just had a pre-Christmas sale. I think it was like 25% off, so I totally stocked up. Or you can buy it on Amazon. And I believe it's either my local grocery store or Walmart. I can't remember exactly where, but you can find this Primal Kitchen brand, quite a few pieces. So here's where it gets different. You can either do regular ketchup with the spicy ketchup, half and half, right? So the recipe calls for a half a cup ketchup. So what I like to do, if I have this on hand, is I'll do a quarter cup, give or take, of each of these. If you don't have the spicy ketchup and you want a little bit of zing to your sweet and sour like we do, not a whole lot of hot, but just a little bit of zing, get yourself some Sriracha. This is my absolute favorite brand. I love Well Your World. I can give you a link for the Well Your World website, and their Sriracha is like bomb. So when I first did this recipe, I did not have and I did not know about the spicy ketchup. So what I did was I added 1 teaspoon Sriracha at the very end after using a half a cup of regular ketchup. Now, you don't have to. This adds just a little bit of heat. If you don't like any heat, leave the Sriracha out and do your regular ketchup. If you like a little bit, do a little Sriracha and or the spicy ketchup. So here's what we're gonna do. We had a little bit of ketchup left in the container, and of course I am home away from home, so I don't have the regular spatula that fits into the jars like I usually do, so we're stuck with the old-fashioned butter knife. All right, so since I have the spicy ketchup, we're gonna do roughly quarter cup regular ketchup, quarter cup spicy ketchup. Now here's a trick. I'm just gonna set this bottle to the side, right? I have just barely a quarter cup. There's still ketchup in this. There's still gold in this. So just set it to the side. Now we're gonna take the, so we'll add just a tiny bit, teeny tiny bit to make it a quarter of a cup. Just a little bit. So now it's exactly a quarter of a cup ketchup. All right. Now we're gonna do a quarter cup spicy ketchup. And believe it or not, my toddler likes this, even with a little bit of heat. Okay. So we've done both ketchups. Now, because there's still liquid gold in the bottom of this bottle, we need a quarter cup vinegar, right? So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take the apple cider vinegar, that's what you want, and always get the apple cider vinegar with the mother, organic if you can. There's not a lot of things that I buy organic, but the apple cider with the mother, always get that, that's the good stuff, is what you're gonna add. Now, I'm not gonna measure my quarter cup yet, right? So I'm just gonna take a little of this, oops, try not to spill it everywhere, and I'm gonna add it to the bottle. And we're gonna clean out the jar as best as we can. So put it in, make sure your lid is on good, and shake it up. And what it does is, it gets all the good stuff out of there. Okay, we're gonna add this right to our mixing container. We're just gonna tap it out as much as we can, because like I said, I don't have my regular silicone spatula that reaches down in there. Okay. So now we have a recycled bottle. We're gonna add our ketchup to this. And I'm trying to do minimalism over here because when we are home away from home, the less stuff I have, the less I have to clean, the less anxiety I get. So I have one liquid measuring cup, which, truth be told, is more than enough. All right, so we're gonna clean out all the ketchup, and then we're gonna add our 1/4 cup cider vinegar. We're gonna add it here. Okay, now we have 3 tablespoons reduced sodium tamari. I don't have tamari with me, and I don't have soy sauce. Tamari is basically a soy-free version of soy sauce. Always get the reduced sodium. You really don't need that much salt. It's like, I don't know how many, like 400% more sodium than you need in a day. So always get the reduced sodium. But coconut aminos, which is a little bit sweeter version than tamari, there's so much less sodium in it. So it's definitely a healthier version. And that's what we're gonna do because that's what I have here. I buy this on Amazon, and it comes in a 3-pack. There's the regular coconut aminos, does not taste like coconut. There's a teriyaki flavor, and there's a garlic. The garlic one is my absolute favorite, but I don't want this to be too overbearing of garlic, so we're just gonna do the regular one. So this, we need 3 tablespoons. Again, if you have reduced sodium tamari or soy sauce, you can use that too. And we're gonna add this right to the blender cup, or if you have a Vitamix or a big blender, you can use that. Okay. Next is 3 tablespoons ginger paste. Now, this is the one, I wouldn't say specialty ingredient. If you have ginger, you can use shaved ginger. I personally like this ginger paste, and I've bought other brands. Other brands are fine too. I bought this in Walmart. It was quick and easy, and hey, Walmart delivered while we were on vacation, so I'm doing that. All right, so what I say, 3 tablespoons of ginger paste. So 1, 2, 3. Now, the same thing I did with the ketchup, you can also do when your paste gets to the end. Just cut the tube off and add a little water or cider vinegar, add it, shake it up, and you'll get the rest of the bits and pieces out because it's like liquid gold. All right, we're gonna do 1 teaspoon onion powder. And we're gonna add this right to it. You can add black pepper. I truly don't even think I have black pepper here yet, but that's okay. In time, we'll fill this kitchen up. So don't worry about the black pepper, but if you do have black pepper, add 1 teaspoon of ground black pepper. And if you have a pepper grinder, just over top of it. No need to measure, don't get yourself crazy. If we're not gonna do the spicy ketchup, we're gonna do a teaspoon of Sriracha. Give or take. If you like it less spicy, do a little bit less. If you like some heat, add a little bit more Sriracha. The orange juice is already in there. The pineapple core and all the goodness is already in there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna blend this up really quick, and then I'm gonna taste test it just to see if I want a little bit more onion in it, if I want a little bit more ginger in it, if I might want a little bit more zing from the apple cider vinegar. Maybe I want a little bit of heat with the Sriracha or the spicy ketchup. So we're gonna taste test it before we add the last 2 tablespoons of arrowroot or cornstarch. In our case, we're gonna do the arrowroot. So I'll be right back after this is all blended up. Okay, so we've blended everything up, including the last 2 tablespoons of arrowroot. Arrowroot, again, is the thickening agent. And the only reason why I'm adding this to a separate bowl is, remember, because I'm home away from home and my blender cup is not as big as I would like it to be here. So normally at home, everything fits in my blender cup because it's a little bit bigger, but we make do with what we got. As my toddler would say, it is what it is. So we're just making do. All right, so I'm just gonna add it. And you see, it's like 3/4 of the way full. So it's probably a good thing I did add it to a separate bowl because I would have overflowed faux show. And you don't want to do that. Trust me, I've done it before and it's not fun. So clean it out, clean your cup out as best as you can. And a little trick. If you like it a little bit on the zingy side because it's sweet and sour, you can actually add, after you get as much out of here as you possibly can, using your spatula or whatever you got, you can actually take either a tiny bit of water, if you don't want it too zingy, add it to the cup, blend it again, and it'll clean out everything, all that liquid gold, and add it to the sauce. Or take a little tiny bit of apple cider vinegar, swirl it around, add it, blend it, and then add it to the sauce. And it'll clean out the bottle really nice. All right, so I'm just going to mix this around so everything is nice and combined. Again, if you only have one blender that's big enough to handle all this, then just use that. This trip, we don't, and I'm not bringing my Vitamix on the trip, although I did think about it. All right, so we're just gonna blend it around a little bit. We've already taste tested it. It's super yummy. And we're gonna come to the stove. This is where I already have, look at those vegetables. Look at the colors. Aren't they gorgeous? So this is where we already have, fogging up my glasses, our vegetables cooking. Remember, we don't add any oil. We don't add anything to this. They're just cooking away. Whoops, dropped the chickpea. Chickpea down. You'll see all the colors of the rainbow. That's what we want. That's for good gut health. So right now, you can feel them. They're not quite al dente, but they're close. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the sauce. And because we added the arrowroot, which is the thickening agent, it will thicken this whole saucepan as it heats up. That's the cool thing about arrowroot, is you add it to a cold mixture. As it heats up, it thickens. Okay. And of course, before you start, you want to make sure you have a pan or a pot or a stock pot or whatever you have that's big enough to hold all these vegetables plus the sauce. I have overflowed at home New York the sauce and ended up on the stovetop. So we're just gonna mix it all in together. My heat right now is on a medium. Thank you to my cameraman. Normally I don't have him. He works a lot, so he's able to capture this for me. Okay, so now that we've added the sauce and the thickening agent, we're gonna cook it for a little while longer till the vegetables are just soft. But you wanna keep a little bit of a close eye on it because you don't want it to stick to the bottom of the pot. If you let it sit for too long, it definitely will stick to the bottom of the pot. All right, look at that. Isn't it beautiful? All right, our rice is actually done. So we're gonna give this probably less than 5 minutes with the lid on to warm everything up till it's nice and bubbly. We're gonna check on it. I'm gonna give it another stir and we're pretty much good to go. All right, guys, here we are. Didn't take too long. Sweet and sour veg. It smells amazing. And here's our rice that took 12 minutes in the rice cooker to make. Jasmine rice. Yum. Fluff it up a little bit. All right, so let's load the bowl. All right, this is going to be my helping. Add a little more rice. Yum. Then we're going to come over here. Let me grab a ladle. We'll ladle some on. Look at all those vegetables and the sauce. Look at the sauce. Oh yeah, that's the good stuff. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Now, if you wanted to garnish with sesame seeds, that would be nice. I actually brought from home a green onion. So I am going to just cut this up and we'll add it to it. And I'll show you in a second. The nice thing about adding garnishes is they not only give you a spark of color, they give you added nutrition and flavor. And I don't know if you know it or not, but all garnishes that you get on your plates, especially in restaurants, are edible and they're meant to be eaten. All right, and there we are. There's our sweet and sour. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. I hope you enjoy making sweet and sour veg and serve it to your family. And make sure you hit the like button and you click and subscribe and share this channel with all those you love around you. Thank you.